I sent my dog away after the sheriff used my father's last words against me. They kept me in that sterile box of an office for what felt like a lifetime. The only sound was the hum of a dying fluorescent light and the soft thump, thump, thump of Sola's tail against the linoleum floor every time my leg started to shake. She was napping, but not really. One eye was always cracked, watching me, waiting, just like I was. The door finally swung open, so hard it hit the wall. Sheriff Brody stood there not looking at me but at Sola. He held a styrofoam bowl of water. Figured she might be thirsty, he said. He set it down. Sola lapped at it, the only noise in the room. Thank you, I said. Sheriff, do you have any? He cut me off, his eyes finally meeting mine. They were flat, like stones at the bottom of a river. We found your friend Levon. What was left of him? He let that hang in the air. The fluorescent light hummed. Just got back from the county coroner, he continued, his voice a low gravel. Family's on the way. It's a damn shame. Must have been hard, finding him like that. My mouth was dry. I couldn't form words. He didn't need me to. Coroner's thinking accidental. Death by misadventure, they call it. You know his history. A few too many, a slip on the pier, rocks meet head. Happens more than you'd think. I shot to my feet. No way. I saw him. He was leaving. He was going to a program up in Summerdale. He was clean. Brody raised a hand, a gesture that was less a request and more a command. I sat. He watched me for a moment, his expression unreadable. I'm sure he was, he said, the words coated in a thick layer of something that wasn't sympathy. You told me he was going to say goodbye to some old friends, right? One last party before the straight and narrow. We haven't got the tox report, but it's a story we've seen before. His body, I choked out, shaking my head. The rocks didn't do that to him. What about Levon, he said, his voice sharp now, interrupting me. His body was in the surf all night. We had a storm blow through, you remember? High tide. The ocean has teeth, son. Crabs, gulls, fish. You'd be amazed what gets washed up on our shores after a good blow. Things you don't want to see. I just sat there. The lie was so big, so complete, it filled the room and pushed all the air out. I hadn't told him about my kitchen, about the thing that smashed through the window, the black, tar-like ichor on my floor. I'd spent hours trying to figure out how to say it, and now I knew. He wouldn't just not believe me, he would use it against me. He leaned forward, his hands on his desk. Accidents happen. You, of all people, should know that. This ought to be a wake-up call, kid. I know Cormac was your friend, but that could just as easily be you. The air turned to ice. Shame, hot and sharp, stabbed me right in the gut. I knew your old man, Brody said, his voice softer now, which was somehow worse. Tipped back a fee with him at Mick's more than once. I was the one who responded to your wreck last year, Levon. I saw you in that car. I don't want to be the one to find you washed up under the pier next. My eyes squeezed shut. I was back there. The smell of gasoline and pine needles, the taste of blood in my mouth, the unbearable quiet of the house after Dad was gone, a silence so loud I tried to outrun it and ended up wrapped around an oak tree instead. I still don't know if I turned the wheel on purpose. Sometimes I wake up and I can still feel the glass in my skin. I looked down at Sola. She nudged my hand with her wet nose. At least I failed. She didn't deserve that. I took a breath. Sheriff, there's something wrong in this town. He let out a long, slow sigh, as if I was the heaviest burden he had to carry. He crossed his arms. Let me give you some advice, and I strongly suggest you listen. There are cycles in this world, son. Things that live and things that die. That's nature. Predator and prey. And if you're not the predator, you better learn how to run. It would be in everyone's best interest if you got the hell out of Paradise Point for a good long while. He stood up, grabbed his jacket. It was over. He walked us to the door. I turned back. I just have to know. His family. What was his name? His real name? Brody looked at me, his face a cold mask. It doesn't really matter. Then he slammed the door. The silence in the house was a physical thing. It pressed in on me, echoed Brody's words in my ears. I did something I haven't done in almost a year. I picked up the phone. I called my mom. Brody was right about one thing. I was in over my head. Solo was curled on the rug, her big brown eyes fixed on me. I couldn't put her in any more danger. I didn't know if Brody was part of it or just cleaning up after it. I didn't know if Brody was part of it. I didn't care. The thing under the boardwalk could have him. It could have this whole goddamn town. I had my own monsters. The shock in my mom's voice when she heard me, like a ghost had called. I'd forgotten how good it was to hear her, how much I had just shut her out. Are you sure, Levon? Honey, I can be there in a couple of hours. Levon. I hadn't heard my own name in so long it sounded foreign. Yeah, Mom, I said. I think it's time. I could hear her keys jangling before the line even went dead. I started packing. A duffel bag. Not much to take. I put on a record to fill the quiet. T-Rex. The Slider. Sola's tail started a slow thump against the floorboards. She was ready to go too. I wasn't sure if I was ever coming back. I was leaving the house just as I found it, a tomb full of my dad's things. As Mark Bolan sang about the ballrooms of Mars, a line jumped out. There are things in night that are better not to behold. No shit, Mark. The sun was bleeding out over the ocean, bruising the sky, purple and orange. I did not want to be here when it got dark. Then I found it, tucked in the pocket of the denim jacket Cormac had borrowed from me. The one he was wearing last night. His wallet. The cops had missed it. My fingers trembled as I opened it. There was a faded snapshot of a little girl with his same crooked smile, and behind it, a small, heavy coin. A 1-month sobriety chip. My teeth clenched so hard, my jaw ached. Brody's words echoed in my head, a story we've seen before. Bullshit. All of it. This wasn't some drunk who fell off a pier. This was a man trying, a father, and they were going to bury him as a cautionary tale. I knew that story. I knew the way people look at you, the whispers. I couldn't save Cormac. But I couldn't let this be how his story ended. Headlights cut across the living room wall. Mom was here. I went outside. She hugged me so tight I could barely breathe. I could feel her tears on my shoulder. You ready to go? She asked, her eyes wet. My gut twisted. This was it. The moment in the movie where everyone yells at the screen, "Get in the car, you idiot." Actually, I said, the lie tasting like ash in my mouth. The guys from Mix are throwing a small thing for me. Last night in town, Tommy said he'd drive me over to your place tomorrow. Could you just take Solo for tonight? Her face fell, puzzled. Disappointed, she knew. Mothers always know. Levon, are you sure? I sighed, trying to make a smile that didn't feel like a grimace. Yeah, I gotta say goodbye. I'll be there before lunch, I promise. I hugged her again, long and hard, I promise. I knelt and kissed Sola's head. She licked my face, whining low in her throat. I'll see you soon, girl. Be good for Grandma. I put her in the passenger seat. My mom drove away without another word. I watched Sola's face in the back window, her eyes locked on mine until the taillights were just red pinpricks in the growing dark. A piece of my heart broke off and drove away with them. It would be night soon. The whole block was empty, seasonal homes battened down for the winter. I was alone. The Mackenzies next door were in Florida. They'd asked me to keep an eye on the place. I knew where the spare key to their shed was. Inside, it smelled of oil and rust and cut grass. A long-handled weed torch leaned against the wall, a full propane tank attached. I'd seen Mr. Mackenzie use it to char the weeds on his gravel driveway. Fire hurt it. It didn't kill it, but it hurt it. A plan, ugly and desperate, began to form. I grabbed it and an old wood-splitting axe hanging from a hook. It was heavy in my hands, solid. Back in my empty house, I packed a different bag. The axe, the torch head, some rags, a lighter. No music this time, just the sound of my own breathing. My phone buzzed. A picture from my mom. Her and Sola on the couch, safe. A tear slid down my cheek. I typed back, I love you. I looked at the framed photo on the mantle. Me and my dad on this very beach years ago. I was just a kid. He was smiling. The memory hit me like a physical blow. The last conversation we had, the day of his accident, I'd asked him what he wanted me to bring for dinner. He just shrugged. It doesn't really matter. A sharp, frantic knock at the front door shattered the silence. Not a friendly knock. It was a panicked banging. My heart hammered against my ribs. I wasn't expecting anyone. I crept to the door, peered through the peephole. The porch light was burned out. I could only see a silhouette, frantic and shaking. Fuck it. I swung the door open. It was Tess. Her eyes were wide with terror, her face pale. She looked like she'd just seen a ghost.